You don't have a heart for the gospel. You have a heart for behavior management and slapping a Jesus label on top of it so you look good. We have got it all wrong as Christians. Here's the truth that no one's going to say out loud, and I'll speak for myself. The only reason I'm not a drug addict, the only reason I'm not in jail, the only reason I'm not a homosexual, the only reason I'm not a gang member, the only reason I haven't fallen into sins that society looks at as unacceptable is solely because of God's grace and my own circumstances. We have been deceived into comparing outcomes instead of hearts. We've had different lives, but we have the same disease. Jesus says in John 3:6, whoever is born of flesh is flesh. Flesh is flesh. But we've been trained to think if this person does this and this person does that, then I'm better than him. And you know what that has led to? Church hurt. People not understanding the gospel. People not feeling love. People feeling abnormal and running farther away from God. We don't think about how Jesus says if you have hatred in your heart towards your brother, you've committed murder. We don't think about that if you look at someone with lust in your eyes, you've committed adultery in your heart. We don't look at James 2:10 that says if you break one, you break them all. We just look to our own standard and to our own circumstances and think everyone else should just be the same. No, we're not saying that actions don't matter, but what we are saying is sin starts deeper than just actions. It starts at the source and it starts at the identity. Some people's sin may explode more on the outward because of trauma, because of neglect, because of upbringing, because of bad circumstances. And then other people's sin might be looked at as more respectable because it's not being shown on the outside because they had discipline, because they had better circumstances, because they had a better upbringing. That doesn't change the problem. Both have the same root. Romans 3 says, there is none righteous, no, not one. None does good. Not some of us, all of us. And we say that so much on the outside and we sound so humble, but on the inside, in our actions, by the way that we love people, by the way we share the gospel, shows that we don't actually believe that. We deep down still think that we're not as bad as so-and-so people. We can focus all we want on avoiding the big sins, doing the worship, praising God, doing the Bible studies, talking about how much you love God, and still be lost. And this is why we see today in the Christian world, there's so many Christians that are insecure, so many Christians that are empty, so many Christians that don't actually believe Jesus finished it for them. And they're living a lifestyle of insecurity and never knowing if they're truly saved. So what do we do now? When you realize that you're capable of the most evil of evil things, even if it's not showing on the outside, you now gain a heart of, I'm not going to trust myself anymore. When you realize what you are capable of without Jesus, you stop obsessing over your thoughts. You stop obsessing over how well you can do in your actions, and you start to rest because you see your heart is deceitful and can't be trusted. You see that all of your righteous deeds are like a filthy rag to God, as it says in Isaiah 64:6, and you start just accepting what Jesus has already done and fixing your eyes on him and not fixing your eyes on yourself with him on top. All those intrusive thoughts you deal with on a day-to-day basis, you don't spiral with it anymore. You don't trust it anymore. You don't let it affect you anymore because you start to see, I can't trust myself. I can only trust Jesus. This is why Paul says it is no longer I who live, but Christ in me. So I'm dead and I'm alive in God through Jesus. So now there's no condemnation for those that are in Christ Jesus. That's not just a statement, that's a fact. So now we can understand I am set free. Sin is no longer my master. It has no dominion over me, as it says in Romans 6:14, and we can have peace now. Now, when you start to live from this place, you stop judging people, you stop ranking sins, and you just focus on what Jesus has done. You start to see the only difference between you and that person is you received grace, you received mercy, and you accepted the free gift that Jesus gave to you when you least deserved it. So now you have a heart to share the gospel and the gospel alone, no strings attached, pointing people to the finished work of Jesus, not works and Jesus together. Finished work in Jesus, and that's the hope that's actually going to transform people.